Hello friends, me your host. Welcome back to our channel. I hope you all are well and doing great. So today I'm back with another video to give a review on another book, which is The Lamplighters Bookshop. In this book, we'll get to know that every book tells a story and every heart hides a secret. This book is by Sophie Austen. 12th May 1899, Recall, Yorkshire. Evelyn Seaton watched her breath mist against the window and said, with a calmness that belied her thudding heart, "There are a lot of strange men coming towards the house." Bessie, 6 black carriages rattled through the gates, twisting with bends of the mansion's immaculately pruned driveway. The dust kicked up from beneath their wheels made it look as though a great snake was slithering towards the house in the morning sun, coming to swallow them whole. Bessie moved beside her and sucked in a quick breath. "A whole battalion of them," Evelyn said. Watching the horses trot closer, they were great shaggy shires built for hauling heavy loads, and she wondered why they had brought so many men and such large wagons. The men were stepping out now, forming a cluster on the gravelled pathway. They could not be local police, for surely all of Yorkshire did not have so many as this. And now they were looking up at the windows, no doubt experiencing the same thing all did when they first set eyes on Rickwell Hall. Wonder. For this grand old house, this this wisteria covered sandstone Leviathan was large enough to keep a whole regiment in private rooms, and yet now it and her mother's melancholy would start all over again. Evelyn took a deep breath and wrenched her gaze from the window. Bessie, whatever this is, I believe I should greet them. She had tried to provoke to her instead. Walking into the breakfast room in a parade of increasingly ridiculous outfits. White cycling bloomers, a gentleman's top hat, even pearls, for surely if anything could rouse her mother from her stupor, it would be pearls before 6. But all her efforts had been met with a courtesy glance, a sigh, and a sinking feeling that tugged so painfully at Evelyn's stomach. She imagined she had swallowed her own mother's sadness. She thought she had turned a corner before Christmas, but then spring had come and her mother had grown languid again. The corner of it had been odd, her mother retreating her chambers just as the frost thawed and the breeze took on a sweet edge. Greet them, miss. Bessie's white, wrinkled face crumpled. With all due respect, I'm not sure that is the best idea. Oh, come on. I can be charming when I want to be. Now I think a suit should do it. The tweed? Bessie's grimace said otherwise. What do you think they want? They must be lost, Evelyn said, with a confidence she did not feel. But you can't get lost in recall. Bessie snorted. You are out of recall before you even realize you have reached it. And I do think it would be better to await your lady mother. The doorbell jingled then, 3 sharp pulls of the bell, as though the person on the other side was short of time or patience or both. Evelyn shook her head. I would rather not have Mama vexed if we can avoid it. I can handle one set of guests by myself. I am 24 after all. Yes, but you can also be rather blunt, miss. which the likes of me don't mind, but the likes of the men downstairs might. Evelyn rolled her eyes. I'm not blunt, merely honest. Precisely, Bessie said, though she went to the wardrobe, opened the gate, creaking doors with vigor. People dislike honesty. Untrue, Evelyn said. I believe the people who say they dislike honesty actually dislike themselves. That is why they are so offended when I tell them the truth. After all, they do not say it to themselves, then why should they suffer the likes of me saying it to them? Bessie's mouth became a firm line. And that's why your mother you do have rather a tendency to say odd things. Once she had read them twice, one of the footmen approached, a tight grimace stitched upon his face. Lady Violet is aware of your arrival. Wonderful, Evelyn said, though she didn't believe Lady Violet would send for her quickly. This waiting, keeping her in the hobby like a commoner, staring at the white rose. Staring at the white rose of York and the red rose of Leicester intertwined on the entryway tiles was clearly an intended snub. A raised newspaper snapped back then, revealing a young blond man with flushed cheeks. If she's not come straight down, then I suspect she won't see you at all, you know. Evelyn quirked an eyebrow. He had hair like summer gone and bright blue eyes. His nose was crooked, his smile too, but the effect was rather charmly, for it made him look like the kind of man who had a secret to tell, or perhaps one to keep. But the most interesting thing about him was his accent, the smooth, honeyed drawl of an American. That would work in my favor, actually. Then she would not have to face Lady Violet's singing words. His polite expression flickered. I. What? I would be quite content to sit. I would be quite content to sit here a little while longer and then leave the way. The way I can't, I can at least say I tried. How about you? The man looked quite befuddled. How about me? Who are you waiting for? His gaze slid away. Lady Violet as well, but I have been here for 2 days already and she's not called me up. In an Englishman's mouth, it might have been a sour comment, but he said it all quite jovially. You have sat here for 2 days. Not consistently. He retorted quickly. I have called upon her both afternoons, and twice I have been rejected. Rejected or ignored. He gave her a twitching smile. Both. Evelyn tilted her head to one side. Because I have riled her. He pushed a strand of blonde hair from back of his face. What should my being American have anything to do with it? Objectively, nothing at all. Evelyn said, but for the likes of Lady Violet, being American is, oh, worse than being in trade. She narrowed her eyes. Looking at the slump in his shoulders, the lines of fatigue written beneath his eyes. Let me guess, she said, sliding closer so she didn't have to raise her voice. You are the son of a wealthy New Yorker come to woo Lady Violet. Only to find she has locked herself away. Let she cause a scandal by taking luncheon with an American. She watched the bemusement flicker across his face. In fact, he said, clearing his throat. I am the son of a wealthy Massachusetts sent on behalf of Lord Pemberley to try to coax Lady Violet up to Scotland for the summer. I studied at Oxford with her brother. Evelyn scrunched her nose. That's far less exciting than a grand romantic gesture. Are you quite sure you're not madly in love with her? The American folded his newspaper quickly, placing it on the empty seat beside him. Why are you here? Oh, you know, Evelyn flapped a hand dismissively. Women's follies. I most certainly don't know. He gave her a languid smile. Why don't you tell me? Yes, Miss Seaton. Why don't you? They turned as one at her voice, for Lady Violet had appeared like a spectre from behind a wide display of dusk blue hydrangeas. She looked like a white flower herself in her violet day dress. Her white blonde hair curled and pinned neatly beneath a velvet-rimmed hat. When her green eyes were trained on you, it felt like being blinded, and when coupled with her brittle beauty and her jewels, it could cause a room to hush. She certainly had that effect on the American, who had still not stood to greet her, and now, in his rush to do so, knocked the low coffee table with his shins. Finally, he took off his cap, flourishing as a bow. I thought you would leave me here. Another day. Nathaniel, for the 100th time, you must tell Papa I'm not going to Scotland. She gave him a prim look before turning to Evelyn. I came to see what on earth you might want, Miss Seaton. The footman said it looked as though you had walked all the way here, though I said, surely not from Rickle. Then he told me something very interesting. It was as though the gentle clatter of footsteps on the tiles, of bells ringing behind the main desk, had all husband All hushed, leaving only Lady Violet's voice, loud as clocks chime. He told me that a number of wagons passed through York on their way to Recall earlier this week. Police wagons. They stopped at the Royal Station Hotel for directions. She turned to the American then and said, "Pickle is so tiny, you are more likely to drive through it than discover it." Evelyn had been lucky enough to avoid her mother when she arrived home. Cecilia had gone to bed early, but she could not avoid her at breakfast. No matter how long she had dawdled in her room, brushing out her curling brown hair, fiddling with the buttons on her high-necked morning dress. Last night she had dreamed of the man from the carriage, except in her dream he had not sat in sullen silence the entire ride home. Instead, he had told her stories, fantastical ones of carriages and mice, and his word had hung in the air like sparks, leaving behind a shadow of smoke where they had been. She had awoken to a rocking sensation, as though she were sat in the carriage still, and it had taken her a moment to realize she was in her truckle bed, and that the rocking was merely the springs digging into her spine each time she moved. Now they sat together in the kitchen, a bowl of boiled eggs and a rack of toast in front of them. The grate was cooling, the windows open to allow the morning breeze and the smell of cut grass into the room. "Well, come on then." Cecilia's face was bright. "Tell me everything. Who was there?" Evelyn reached for a piece of cold toast, casting a sideways glance at Aunt Clara, who was pretending not to listen from behind a battered issue of Home Notes magazine. "A few of the ladies we met in London. They were as barbed as ever." Her mother gave her a flat look. "I hope you didn't cause another argument." "I was polite," Evelyn said truthfully, but I cannot say the same for them." Her mother rolled her eyes. "I don't understand why you rub against people so. Is it really that difficult to be friendly?" "I am friendly." "Clearly not, if they all treat you so harshly. Those ladies have never been anything but delightful towards me." "To your face, mother. What they say behind your back is another matter entirely. Aunt Clara snorted behind her magazine and then turned the page loudly to try to cover it. You see, this is what I mean. You are so distrustful of people. Distrustful of people. Who is to say they speak cruelly behind our backs at all? Just because you assume the worst of people doesn't mean that we all don't know that we should. Evelyn took a bite of her toast. Chewing as though it would save her from ever having to speak again. She could not tell her mother what they had said. That Lady Violet and the others had laughed at her beginnings, that they had accused her mother of being the reason they had lost the house in recall. It would break her heart. Cecilia sighed. Very well, if you are going to go into one of your silent stupors. Tell me instead who you danced with. Did you bring your dance card home as I asked? I did, Evelyn said, taking another bite. Well then, let me see. She hesitated before sliding it across the table. Cecilia stared at it for what seemed like eternity. Is this a jest? No. Evelyn reached for another piece of toast, keeping her focus on carefully spreading the warm butter onto cold bread. You danced with one man. Not exactly. Oh, Cecilia's tone brightened. So there were more men. You just didn't use your card. Evelyn reached for the jam. I didn't dance with anyone, mother. Aunt Clara sucked in a breath from behind her magazine, and for a moment the room was quiet. What did you say? Evelyn looked at her mother. You hurt me, Mama, but it was not out of insolence. I promise you, I couldn't. You couldn't, but you had all those dance lessons before your debut. Don't tell me you were too scared. I wasn't scared to dance, Evelyn said carefully. Well, then what? Did you hide yourself in a corner again? Oh, Evelyn, tell me you didn't. There is more to life than balls, mother, and more to do than simply wait around for a proposal. It's not 1850 any longer. More is the pity, muttered Aunt Clara. Why, I have read of women becoming doctors, and more women these days are choosing to have careers of their own. Perhaps having husbands will go out of fashion entirely. He grimaced, his fingers sketching at a knot in his messy black hair. Just as Evelyn stepped through the doorway and called, "It's getting hotter and hotter out there," into the shop. The warmth had flushed her cheeks, and as she unpinned her hat and set it upon the stand, he saw that the wind had pulled tendrils of her curling hair from the tight knot at her neck. She turned then, catching his gaze and giving him a dazzling smile. "You should step aside, too," she said. "Get some fresh air." He shook his head. "You know you have not sold a single thing since you started, Evelyn." "That's not true," she said, coming to stand beside him. "I just sold a yellow bag to Nomi." "Very well, one sale out of how many weeks?" "My uncle would keep paying you the full amount if you have not earned it, and nor will he pay me if he have not sold enough." She blushed now, her sun-warmed skin turning a violent shade of red. "I know I'm no good at this at the moment, but I will get better. I need more time to practice." William turned his attention back to the page before him. "If you believe that, then you will believe anything. You could always help me, you know." His lip cooked at the edge. It took a certain kind of arrogance to admit her failure and then ask for his help. And his instinct was to say no. But somehow, when he looked at her, All the spiked words he had on his tongue seemed to dissolve. I'm sure there is a trick or two you could teach me. Her expression changed. I don't think it's failing if you are learning, she said. We are arrivals, Evelyn. You think I'm going to help you beat me? His tone was sharper than it needed to be. He could hear it, but his face felt hot and he wanted her to go back to where she had been, standing by the door. All he could smell were the lilacs pressed into her clothes. I'd hoped you had at least see to it that it was a fair fight, she said. You were the one who wanted us to go against each other. He expected her to snap back at him, to give him one of her quick retorts. But this time she was quiet, and when he looked at her, it was like she wasn't there, like she had retreated, disappeared somewhere far away. And he felt the regret like a knot in his stomach. Next week will be better, she said softly. Once we have got the stand at the train station. Once I have arranged that, you mean? She looked at him then. I will do it if you don't wish to. Jerry from the newsstand can help me if you want. William squeezed the paper in his pocket. I will handle it, he said. I said I would. Good, she said. William sighed, pinching the skin at the bridge of his nose as she disappeared behind the shelves. Uncle Howard had always said he had a flaring temper, and William agreed. All those seconds he wasted watching time he had spent later trying to catch it, and the remorse that came afterwards was always swift and crushing. He should apologize to her. After all, it wasn't just her fault, and the bookshop did look so much nicer thanks to her idea. idea of dusting and mopping. It looked closer now to the way it had when he had first seen it some 17 years ago, brighter, happier. She strode past him, a stack of books in her arms. William said, "Evelyn, wait." She turned. There were so many that she had them balanced beneath her chin, all of them with their hardbacks falling off or crumbling. Uncle Hobby would need to. What her tone was terse, tense. I should have spoken. I'm sorry, he said. He watched her pose, one shoulder pressed against the cellar. Me too, she said, giving him a small smile. Next week will be better. That Friday, Aunt Clara made a steak and kidney pudding served with split yellow peas that had been mashed into a kind of sauce. Her father served them each a slice, despite Aunt Clara scowling, and then announced rather cheerily that he had booked them all tickets to the theatre for a performance of The Importance of Being Honest on the first Saturday of September. Oh, Cecilia, said, her face failing. I thought you might have news as to when we can return to Recall Hall. The theatre. Aunt Clara scrunched her nose as though the word was a foul spell. I hate the theatre, John sighed. Evelyn, I suppose you are disappointed too. Do you despise art? No, said Evelyn. I do not despise art, my darling, Cecilia said, leaning forward to place her hand upon John's forearm. You promised we could take a carriage soon. And we will, John said, spooning more of the rich, brown gravy over his plate. But everyone who is anyone shall be attending this performance. I have it on very good authority that the Duke of Wrexham is in York for the fortnight and has purchased most of the theatre's tickets for the night, which means it shall be filled with the type of men with long names and deep pockets. The type of men who know a good investment when they see it. Now it all makes sense, said Evelyn. This isn't a family theater trip, it's a business event. I hope I'm not expected to attend this, said Aunt Clara. I'd rather spend the day at York Prison. So, this is all we have from this book. I hope you guys liked it. If you didn't, don't forget to press the like button. And if you want to suggest any other book for a review, you can tell me in the comment section. And if you wanted to buy one of these best-selling books, you can visit our Amazon page and buy it from there. So I'll be back with another video with another book. Till then, just take care and goodbye.